We welcome you to Great American Ballpark. The Reds donning green tonight at Great American Ballpark. It is Irish Heritage Night, and it's a kickoff to the 6-game homestand. The Reds getting together with their brethren to the northern part of Ohio, the Cleveland Indians. Speaking of Irish Heritage Night, we welcome in Chris Welsh. I'm Tom Brenneman. Welcome, as always, to Reds baseball. Away from the field, the Reds made an interesting sign yesterday, bringing in Gary Matthews Jr., turned loose earlier by the New York Mets a couple of years ago. Chris had that monster year with the Rangers, signed the big contract with the Anaheim Angels, but has not been the same player since.
You know, Tom, if my memory serves me right, there was some talk about acquiring Gary Matthews Jr. over the winter. Now, it may have only been talk show fodder, but he is finally a Red, although a minor league Red, reporting to AAA Louisville. In 12 seasons, you've seen what he's done. He's a guy that is 35 years old, evidently plays like he's a little younger than that, and let's find out. There's no downside for the Reds. They're not on the hook for a lot of money, so why not? If you can get a guy who's had a lot of career success in the major leagues in a Reds uniform, just in case down the line you've got an injury, you've got somebody you can call on.
And you take a look at the current outfield and where they stack up offensively. This has been a pretty darn good outfield for this Reds team.
And remember that 2 of the 3 outfielders are very, very young, and Drew Stubbs and Jay Bruce out there. Overall, they're 8th in the league. Their fielding percentage is very good. You've got to credit, of course, Drew Stubbs and Jay Bruce for that. And right now, you're looking at a young man left-handed hitting Jay Bruce, who is on some kind of a tear.
Jay Bruce had the monster series in Oakland. Chris, you saw it.
I'll tell you what, it seemed like every time he swung the bat, a line drive came off of it. He got a rest the first game in Oakland because they were facing a tough left-hander, but he came in later that night and hit a base hit to tie the ball game up. So Jay Bruce swinging a big bat right now, seeing the ball well. He's got a good level swing, keeping his weight back, doing all the things that Brooke Jacoby's been preaching to him, and right now Bruce is on a roll. Look for him to do some damage in this series.
Jay Bruce in the lineup, and he'll be playing behind right-hander Aaron Harang, who starts the opening game of this series. Boy, he's pitched well against this Cleveland team in this ballpark. More on that when we return. On Fox Sports Ohio is always presented in beautiful high definition, courtesy of H.H. Gregg. A spectacular weather night for baseball. And what about the rest of the night? Let's check in with Channel 12's Michelle Boudelet.
Weather looks picture perfect for the Reds game this evening if you're headed out to Great American. 82 and partly cloudy by first pitch. By middle of the game, still looking at a few clouds out there, but temperatures in the upper 70s. By the end of the game, clear skies, mid-70s. Enjoy it.
Michelle, thank you very much. Aaron Harang against Cleveland in this ballpark has been as good as it gets.
Well, you're not kidding about that. Look at the 4 starts that he has had. The Reds are 4-0 in those starts. Their earned run average under 1. The opponent batting average just about 200. But, as you look through the Indians' lineup, this is not the same lineup for the most part that Aaron Harang has pitched against the Indians before. They were 1 pitch away from getting to the World Series in 2007, so he's had a pretty good run against good Indian teams. This is not a very good Indian team this year. Maybe Aaron Harang can continue to throw the ball well like he has the last couple of starts, and he'll get a win here for the Reds tonight.
All right, the Ohio Cup on the line. The Reds took 2 of 3 in Cleveland last month, and they battled 3 times in the Queen City in a matter of moments. Brought to you by State Farm. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. By Ford F-Series trucks, the best-selling trucks, 33 straight years. By Just for Men, for mustache and beard, keep your edge. And by Skyline Chili, it's Skyline time when you get that craving for a Skyline 3-way or cheese coney. Crowd rolling in to Great American Ballpark for Game 1 of 3 between the Reds and the Indians. Take a look at the Remke Big starting lineup for Manny Acta's team. Trevor Crowe in center field, Shin-Soo Choo in right, and the highly touted Carlos Santana just brought up behind the plate. Former Red Austin Kearns in left, former Red Russell Branyan in first, Johnny Peralta at third, a latter third of Anderson Hernandez, Jason Donald, and Aaron Laffey just brought up from AAA Columbus. And on the mound for the Reds, 32-year-old San Diego native Aaron Harang.
A little different look to our scouting report tonight. We're going to rate these pitchers tonight according to experience, control, velocity, maybe some other things that are important for pitchers. Aaron Harang, obviously, in his 10th season, has been around a while. You're going to give him about 75 in that. He's got great control. He is near the top in that. Velocity is better than average. So we'll hope that all that put together means another successful outing for Aaron Harang here at Great American Ballpark.
Ball one to Trevor Crowe, and this one underway.
15 starts under his belt, 5-7 record. Has not had a lot of run support early in the year, a little more lately. He needs to keep the ball in the ballpark.
12 home runs surrendered by Harang in his 87 innings on the mound. He started the year so dreadfully. 2-0 on Trevor Crowe. And now it's 3 balls and no strikes. Aaron's first 4 starts, an 0-3 record with an ERA of over 8. More recently, in his last 6 outings, a 3-2 record and the ERA at 3.89. And there's a strike, his first of the night. Crowe, a rookie at 255, a home run and 18 driven in. And that will line into right field, and that'll be a base hit for Crowe to start the game. The Reds defensively are presented by Ford. It'll be Johnny Gomes out in left field. Drew Stubbs in center. Again, Jay Bruce in right. Rolen, Cabrera, Phillips, and Votto third to first. And a battery of Harang and Hernandez. Dusty Baker tonight flip-flopping the first 2 batters in the lineup. Brandon Phillips will bat in the leadoff spot tonight. Orlando Cabrera goes to the 2-hole. Of course, the last time Dusty Baker made a major shakeup in the lineup, boy, did the Reds take off. First pitch, runner goes. Hernandez throw is knocked down on backing up by Brandon Phillips. So a stolen base for Crowe, his 10th and 12 attempts.
You got to figure that the Indians are going to try this type of maneuver every chance they get in this series. They've got nothing to lose. They've got a losing season going on. They're trying to break a losing streak. They lost 2 out of 3 in Philadelphia, or 3 out of 3 in Philadelphia, where they were swept, beaten badly yesterday. And their team is playing without fear right now. They're saying, hey, let's just try to do something. Manny Acta trying to push any button he can to get it going. So I would assume, if I'm the Reds, that this Indians team is going to hit and run. They're going to bunt. They may suicide squeeze. They're going to steal whenever they can. Just whatever they can to try to get a little momentum going, because they don't have enough sticks in their lineup to sit back and try to wail away.
Chu is the best player they have in their lineup, hitting at 289, 10 home runs and 37 batted in. And Harang, for a second straight batter, has fallen behind 3-0.
Well, this is very unusual for Harang, because one of the things he does excel in is being able to throw the ball where he wants to. Right now, does not have that release point.
3-0 on Chu. And there's a 4-pitch walk. So the first 2 on against Aaron Harang here in the top of the first inning. So now Carlos Santana, playing in his 13th major league game since being brought up from their AAA club in Columbus, where he was just tearing it up, and has done the same with a big league club. In 38 at-bats already, he has 12 base hits, 2 home runs, 6 doubles, and has knocked in 10 runs.
He's a swinger. He's a very aggressive hitter. He's a guy that is not going to sit around and wait for a pitch late in the count. So the first thing straight he sees that's in the hittable part of the strike zone, he's wailing away.
Santana came over in July of 08 in the Casey Blake trade from the Dodgers organization, and looks at a strike. Santana, a switch hitter, and has just had some sensational years in the minor leagues. His last 2, 21 home runs, knocked in nearly 120 runs in 08. And then last year at Akron, 23 home runs and drove in 97. But this has double play written all over it here. And that it is. So Crowe on to third base, but there are 2 out in the inning. So really here through 3 batters, we've seen everything that pretty much Aaron Harang is not. He's fallen behind 2 batters, 3-0, walked 1, which he rarely does. And it's not often you see him induce a ground ball double play.
He's primarily a fly ball pitcher. One of the things that has hurt him in this ballpark, but you get a ground ball when you need one right there.
Well, now Austin Kern. First pitch swinging, and he's down a strike. Kern signed as a minor league free agent 5 days into the new year. Coming off a 195 batting average last year with Washington, where he was hurt most of the year. That one's in the air, and this is going to end the inning. So good work by Harang. The Indians with 2 on, none out, do not score. The Reds are coming to bat with a new look batting order. Game weekend series, and take a look at the Remke Big starting lineup for the Reds. And we told you a flip-flop at the top of the batting order tonight, where Brandon Phillips will lead off, and Orlando Cabrera goes to the 2-hole. Joey Votto again batting third, Scott Rolen in the cleanup spot, Johnny Gomes in left, Jay Bruce in right. A ladder third of Drew Stubbs, Ramon Hernandez, and Aaron Harang. And on the mound for the Indians, began the year in their bullpen. They sent him down to get back into the starting groove, if you will. And here he is tonight, just up from AAA Columbus, Aaron Laffey.
Well, if he's in the groove, he's going to be a guy that's going to get a lot of ground balls. He doesn't have much experience. He did start 19 games for the Indians last year. Tonight's his first start. His control, well, he walked 7 batters in his last AAA outing. And his velocity just about under Major League average, somewhere between 86 and 88 miles an hour. He's primarily, though, a command-type pitcher that is going to have to hit the periphery of the strike zone.
The last time Dusty Baker made a major shakeup in the batting order, you may recall it was after a Sunday game on a dismal homestand against the San Diego Padres on April the 26th. The team at the time was 3 games under 500, and they began a road trip through Houston and St. Louis. That was on the 27th of April. Well, the Reds proceeded to win 23 of their next 32 games. When Orlando Cabrera went to the leadoff spot, Drew Stubbs went down to the 7-hole, and Brandon Phillips went to the number 2 slot. So here now another shakeup in the lineup, and we'll see if they can get on a similar kind of roll again.
Well, the shakeup in the lineup back then was because Drew Stubbs at the leadoff spot was struggling so miserably that they weren't getting anybody on base ahead of the RBI guys like Votto and like Scott Rolen. And it was the bottom of the order that was doing any damage when they did. So they kind of massaged the whole lineup all over the place, and I think they got Brandon Phillips out of the number 4 spot, where I think all along Dusty Baker kind of wanted him out of that spot, but he's been there for 2 years. But they didn't have anybody else really that would be playing every day that could be in the number 4 spot. Now Scott Rolen fits that spot.
3-2 to Brandon Phillips. And I think Cabrera is now the guy struggling in a leadoff spot.
Yeah, he is. I mean, a month ago, Cabrera was hitting around 281. He is now hitting about 230. So he's really struggled. I'm not so sure that he's just now a little bit tired right now and could use a few days off and just to kind of maybe even mental days. But, you know, Brandon Phillips is the most interesting guy from my take anyway. When he bats first, he's 5 for 10 this year. When he bats second in the lineup, he's hitting 321. And when he's third, he's hitting 367. And when he batted fourth, and that was in the beginning of the year, as you said, Tom, is when he hit the worst of all.
Well, he's called out on strikes, and he thought it was ball 4. The home plate umpire, Brian Gorman, says strike 3 instead.
Brandon didn't like it at all. I mean, he looks for this pitch being inside. In fact, you see Santana, the catcher, kind of framing that a little bit. An unusual setup right there, because usually the umpire is sitting on the inside corner of the home plate. That time we had the home plate umpire sitting on the outside corner and maybe not getting as good a view of that as you normally would. That's Brian Gorman behind the plate, the crew chief.
So now Orlando Cabrera checking in at 238. He looks at a strike. Cabrera hitless in his last 18 at-bats. He had just 1 hit on the entire road trip. And, in fact, you go back over the last 2.5 weeks. Only 8 hits in his last 60 at-bats. And this will be a ground ball off the glove of Branyan. And that'll be an error on the Cleveland first baseman, allowing Cabrera to reach safely with one away. Take a look at Cleveland on defense, presented by Ford. An outfield left, center, and right of Austin Kearns, Trevor Crow, and Shin-Soo Choo. Along the infield, Peralta and Branyan, the corner infielders. Jason Donald, Anderson Hernandez just brought up from the minor leagues. Aaron Laffey and Santana, the batter. That brings Joey Votto to the plate. 1 on, 1 out, just underway. Great to have you with us on this Friday night. Joey at 308, 15 home runs, 47 driven in. And of course, Votto, going back to the 15th of May, has reached base safely with either a hit, a walk, hit by a pitch in each of his last 32 games, which is tied with Evan Longoria of Tampa Bay for the longest such streak in the major league so far this year. Runner goes, pitch taken, throw to second, and safe is Cabrera. A perfect 10 for 10 in stolen base attempts.
Carlos Santana's got a gun of an arm, but he didn't really get a whole lot of help this time from his pitcher, Aaron Laffey. Laffey has kind of a long and deliberate move to home plate. Cabrera got a running start, and he's just in there ahead of the throw.
Votto off the end of the bat fouls it away. Of course, the Reds have been so good. In fact, they have been as good as anybody, if not better than everybody, hitting with runners in scoring position this year. But on the just completed road trip, they only had 6 hits in 42 such at bats. Fastball in, 2-2. And really, for just about every player, Votto is one of the exceptions. But the home and road splits between the Reds' offensive numbers are staggering for just about every player in the lineup. As a team, the Reds hit .289 in this ballpark. They barely hit over .250 on the road, as Votto has gone on strikes for the second out of the inning.
Not known as a strikeout pitcher, Aaron Laffey's got 2 of them so far in this inning. That's a little slider at 79 miles an hour. Looks like Votto just pulled off of it. In fact, he's probably surprised he didn't at least foul it. This is one of those situations, you know, you get an extra out an inning due to the error on the first baseman. You try to make as much advantage of it as you can. You put a run on the board against a bad team playing on the road, and you can kind of never look back. But you've got to get that run in first.
Now Scott Rolen with Cabrera at second base and 2 away here in the inning. Scoreless game. We're in the last of the first. Rolen at 303 has 15 home runs. The third most RBIs on the club with 46, trailing Gomes, who has 50, and Votto at 47. Grounded foul, 1-2 to Rolen.
Of course, we talk about the time of night and about how hard it is for the hitter right now, but there's Trevor Crow in center field. He is playing the number 4 hitter in the lineup for the Reds, so shallow. I mean, that is amazing. You normally see your center fielder out in an area that is much deeper than that. Not giving him a whole lot of respect.
Rolen waiting And apparently too long on Laffey to get the sign from Santana. And now Rolen back in the box. Laffey on the rubber. Cabrera stands at second. 2 outs here in the Reds' first inning and a 2-2 countout coming to Rolen. And he went around, and that'll do it.
How about that?
3 strikeouts in the first inning for Aaron Laffey. End of 1, no score. Please call 1-800-ELK-OHIO. We talked about Joey Votto along with Evan Longoria having reached base safely in 32 consecutive games. Now Longoria Street is long over. Jose Guillen, the second longest active streak in that category, at 22 in a row. Of course, 3 of those came against the Reds last weekend. Russell Branyan to lead things off for the Tribe here in the second inning of a scoreless game. Branyan signed very late. In fact, spring training had already began by the time they brought him into camp. Has 10 home runs, 24 runs batted in. Saw Jose Guillen's name there a moment ago with Kansas City. The Royals will be entertaining the St. Louis Cardinals in about an hour from now. Zach Greinke will be on the mound tonight for Kansas City. 2-2 to Russell Branyan. Cleveland 26-45 on the year. They're 5th in a 5-team American League Central Division and a whopping 13.5 games behind front-running Minnesota. To Branyan. In the air, Gomes having a hard time finding it, and by the time he does, it's going to fall in for a pop-up double.
Yeah, we've talked about this ball field many times and seen Adam Dunn over the years when he was patrolling left field for the Reds, just struggling to see the ball coming off the bat. You know, you're looking straight up into the sun. Normally, most baseball fields are built so that right field is your sun field. Well, the Great American Ballpark, the way they laid out this field, left field is your sun field, and Johnny Gomes just never sees it. Sunglasses and all, it doesn't make any difference. A pop-up double for Russell Branyan, and gets the Indians going one more time.
That'll bring up third baseman Johnny Peralta, .258 batter, 4 home runs, 33 runs batted in. Strike one.
You know, in these days when the days are the longest of the year and the sun today, of course, very few clouds in the sky here in Cincinnati. I remember Adam Dunn telling me one time, joking, that he was going to bring a welder's mask out there. That's how bad the sun is when he looks at the ball up in the air. Very, very tough to see.
Those clouds you see in that shot right there, about the only ones in the sky as far as you can see in any direction. Last couple of days have been absolutely perfect summer days. Very low humidity. Grounded foul by Peralta, and Orang ahead at 1 ball and 2 strikes.
And if you're playing left field like Gomes, or even center field where Drew Stubbs is, and I mean, you're nervous, you're worried at every pitch because you're squinting to see. You just cannot wait until the shadows finally engulf the entire field and you don't have the sun to contend with.
Thought that was strike 3, and Brian Gorman says no, ball 2. Rolen coming off an outstanding game his last start, but got beat 1-0. That one pulled down the left field line towards the corner, and that is a foul ball. Of course, the Reds scored 1 run in the 3 games in Seattle. 1 run. And Rolen got beat 1-0 in his start last Sunday, going 6 innings, allowed just 3 hits, struck out 4, and only walked 1 batter. In fact, Rolen has not had a single run scored while he has been on the mound in either of his last 2 starts. He got banged around by the Dodgers his last outing before Seattle in a 12-0 defeat. 3-2.
Well, you see what Aaron has done the last 3 starts. You talked about that Los Angeles game. I think that was a Clayton Kershaw game, if I'm not mistaken. Kershaw was on top of his game. He pitched very well, though, against the Giants here. But this game reminds me a lot more of the Dodger game, because if you remember that game with Aaron Harang, he had a heck of a hard time trying to throw his breaking ball. He seemed like he could spot up his fastball adequately, but he had no feel for his off-speed stuff at all, and it looks like he's really struggling again tonight.
Well, he's already walked his second batter of the game, and in that at bat against Peralta, he was ahead of him at 1 ball and 2 strikes. So now the 7-hole hitter, Anderson Hernandez, with 2 on and nobody out. Hernandez claimed off waivers from the New York Mets midway through spring training. They sent him to Columbus. And pops it up on the first pitch, and this time Gomes in the shade. Picked it up right away, makes a catch, and the runner stayed put. 1 away in the inning.
Boy, if you're Manny Acta, that is such a wasted out right there for the Indians. You got first and second, and you go up there on the very first pitch you see, and you hit a lazy fly ball to the left fielder. If you hit a fly ball to the right fielder, you've got a chance at least to get the runner from second to third. But a slow swing on a pitch that is tough to pull, that's not winning baseball. But the Reds will take it.
So now the number 8 hitter, and of course we're not playing with a designated hitter tonight during interleague play in a National League ballpark, playing with National League rules. So you have the pitcher Laffey on deck, so this becomes a big batter in the inning for Aaron Harang, and Jason Donald looks at ball 1 inside. Donald came over from the Phillies last July. Started this year at AAA Columbus. There's a strike. And is starting his 28th game at shortstop since they brought him to the big league club. Donald had a career-high 3 hits in the loss at Philadelphia yesterday. Had a double, a home run, and knocked in 2. Straight away center field. Stubbs backing up, and he's got it. 2 away in the inning, and the runners remain at first and second base. Aaron Laffey has 2 career at-bats. He has 1 hit. The Indians had 2 on, nobody out in the first inning. Didn't score. 2 outs, nobody on here in the second. And they're still out there now with 2 outs and the pitcher up. 0-1. A strike away from getting out of another tough spot, and it's a little bit low. 1 ball and 2 strikes to the pitcher Aaron Laffey. Back up the middle. Phillips throws and got him at first base. Brandon Phillips with plenty of arm. That's a shortstop arm playing second base. The inning is over.
But I have to prepare better, throw more strikes. I'm close right now, get back to the big league, so I think I need a couple more stars down here, and I'll be ready to go.
Geico direct quote from former National League All-Star Edinson Volquez on the 60-day disabled list, coming all the way back from Tommy John surgery last August. Made 2 rehab starts at Lynchburg, did not give up a single run, did not walk a batter in 8 innings. And then 2 days ago, pitching in nearly 100-degree temperatures in Louisville, 5 innings, 3 hits, 1 run, no walks. Volquez is scheduled to pitch again for Louisville on Tuesday night in Durham. 1 more start perhaps after that. And then Chris on the next road trip leading up to the All-Star break without any further problems. We're almost assured of seeing Edinson Volquez back in the Reds starting rotation.
Yeah, I would say that would be ahead of schedule. Usually, a pitcher can come back or a player can come back anywhere from 10 to 14 months on Tommy John. He's right in that early range right there for Edinson Volquez. They're taking their time. They're evaluating him every time. They're making sure that he doesn't exceed his pitch count numbers. But from what I hear from the scouts that have seen him play, those numbers tell one story, but he's dialing it up there at 96 miles an hour, 94 regularly. And that, like Dusty Baker had said, and everybody else around this ball club, is like making a major trade in the middle of the year when you get a guy like Volquez, an all-star to join your staff, but you don't have to give up anybody. I know a lot of people are anxious and excited about that.
Strike 1 to Jay Bruce, 282 batter, 9 home runs, 33 runs batted in. Of course, as much news as the Volquez start made, I mean, there's that part of this whole thing in and of itself. But the man who followed Volquez that day came out of the bullpen, the Cuban Aroldis Chapman. For more on that, here's Jim Day.
Guys, you talked about a midseason trade. Imagine adding an elite pitcher to your starting rotation and a left-hander that throws in the high 90s in your bullpen. We asked Walt Jocketty about the timetable for Aroldis Chapman, and can we expect Aroldis Chapman in the bullpen for the Reds this season?
With Volquez coming back probably a little bit sooner than we expected, and Bailey's really not that far away, we didn't really think there was a great opportunity for Chapman as a starter up here. So we felt the best opportunity and where we might need the most help is in the bullpen. So we put him in the bullpen the other day behind Volquez, and we will try to get him used to pitching out of the bullpen here for the next few weeks and see how he handles it. But we might be able to use him as a starter later, certainly next year. But we still see him as a starter. But for this season, we felt that the chance to use him sooner would be out of the bullpen.
And Walt Jocketty first said 2 weeks, expected to be at least 2 weeks for Chapman, but then he backed off on that and said most likely 3 weeks, that you will, barring any injuries or any setbacks, you'll see Aroldis Chapman in the Reds bullpen in about 3 weeks. And guys, he's done it before. He's done it for the Cuban national team, so it's not foreign to him.
Jim, thanks so much for that. 2-2 to Jay Bruce, and they appeal he didn't go around. 3-2. I mean, I don't know how in the world, if you are a Reds fan, and the overwhelming majority of those watching this game are that, how you cannot be so excited about what might be and what is on the way for this team, which begins play tonight just a half game out of first place. But as Chris mentioned, I mean, talking about adding a National League All-Star, a bona fide number 1, number 2 guy in anybody's rotation in Volquez, as Bruce takes a walk. And the idea for, in the second half of the season, a guy throwing 100 miles an hour coming out of your bullpen to try and shut down a left-hander, and that's been a glaring hole in this Reds bullpen outside of Arthur Rhodes so far this year.
Well, if you remember that a young man by the name of David Price from the Tampa Bay Rays, when the Rays first brought him up in 2008, they brought him up as a reliever, and he had major impact in the postseason for the Tampa Bay Rays that year. And the following year, in 2009, Price started the season down in the minor leagues back as a starter. And when they brought him back up on May the 25th, he was a starter again. So they used him when they needed him towards the end of the year as a reliever. He had great stuff, and you can compare him in a way to Aroldis Chapman. So just because you signed him as a starter right now doesn't mean you have to use him as a starter right now. Use him where your team needs him. When you're in the hunt, you've got to use your weapons. And I think that Jim Day, you're exactly right, that Aroldis Chapman coming out of the bullpen throwing close to 100 miles an hour can certainly help your ball club, especially if he can dial it in the strike zone.
And, Chris, you can also spot start Aroldis Chapman, because don't forget, they're going to back off of Mike Leake. In fact, he was supposed to be in the lineup this week, and there's a deep one.
There's a deep one to right field, and an opposite field home run, a 2-run home run for Drew Stubbs to put the Reds in front 2-0.
We highlighted the Reds outfield a little bit in our open tonight to show you how good this outfield was, and I particularly talked about the two young guys, Drew Stubbs and Jay Bruce. Well, Jay Bruce preceded this 2-0 home run by Drew Stubbs with a terrific at-bat where he worked the base on balls to lead the inning off, or to get on base in front of Stubbs. And what does Stubbs do? Takes a 2-0 pitch the other way for a home run, going with the pitch. That'll put a smile on your face.
Home run number 8 for Drew Stubbs. He now has 33 runs batted in. His first home run the other way. There's more than enough power to find more of those as the years will certainly come for Drew Stubbs. There's a 2-hopper by Hernandez for the second out of the inning.
You know, they're all happy to be back in Cincinnati, I can guarantee you that. After the first 3 games the Reds played in Seattle, it was a cold ballpark. The air was very heavy, and that ball's caught at the warning track. That is an out in Seattle. In fact, the game that the Reds played against Seattle Mariners in the first game, when Cliff Lee was on the mound, had they played that game in Cincinnati, the Reds would have won 7-1 with the number of balls that were hit that just died out there. So this is no pitcher's paradise here. You make a mistake, you pay for it by giving up a dinger. And, of course, that makes all the hitters very happy.
5 of 28 as a batter is Aaron Harang with a couple of runs driven in. And he's behind 0-2. Well, right now at Papa John's, getting a large pizza for $10. You can try one of their large signature specialty pizzas. Create your own with all the toppings for $10. Call or click papajohns.com. Ball and 2 strikes to Harang. And there's strike 3 to retire the side, but the board lit up for the first time tonight on a 2-run home run by Drew Stubbs. Tomorrow or Sunday, the Reds continue this Ohio Cup Series with the Indians. A battle for the Buckeye State, presented by the Ohio Lottery. Get your tickets now, 513-381-REDS, or visit Reds.com. Tomorrow night, 7:10. A reminder, no television, and then radio only tomorrow night. Back on the tube here on Fox Sports Ohio Sunday. Our Honda National League Central Division standing. St. Louis lost last night against Toronto, so the Reds begin play tonight. A half game behind St. Louis. The Cubs have already lost earlier today, being shut out by the White Sox in a very ugly confrontation in the Chicago dugout after the White Sox scored 4 runs in the first inning off Carlos Zambrano. Zambrano in a heated exchange with his teammate Derek Lee. And Lou Piniella basically threw Zambrano out of the dugout, took him out of the game. First pitch swinging, Trevor Crow to begin the Cleveland third, and that's an easy play for Johnny Gomes.
Well, it's not getting very pretty over there in Chicago for the Cubs. And of course, that'll be the Reds' first stop on this next road trip. So they'll be deciding very shortly, the Cubs that is, whether they're going to be sellers or buyers in this trade market.
And apparently we're receiving word right now out of Chicago where the Cubs have suspended Carlos Zambrano indefinitely from their major league team. I mean, who would have ever thought when this year began, with all the success that Zambrano has had as their #1 pitcher, going all the way back to really the beginning of the decade, that the season would begin, Zambrano an opening day start where he barely got out of the first inning, gave up 8 runs in Atlanta, would be sent to the bullpen, and now involved with yet another confrontation with a teammate, and has been suspended indefinitely by the Cubs after his meltdown today.
Just goes to show you, Tom Brenneman, the age-old adage, money can't make you happy. And he's got plenty of it, Z does. And he obviously ain't happy.
3-1 on Chu. And that's ball 4. Harang has walked him for the second time and has 3 walks in the game.
You know, which really makes me wonder why a guy like Trevor Crow, when he started the inning off, would jump up there and swing at the first pitch when you've got a pitcher in Aaron Harang who has a history of being able to throw the ball over the plate, but tonight has not. And you go up there and make it easy out on an easy fly ball to left field. This young man, though, is up here to swing the bat and not walk. One of the better catching prospects to come along in Major League Baseball in a long, long time.
Well, the runner took off. Harang never gave him a second look, or they could have easily picked Chu off the bag. He had started to run and slammed on the brakes. Chu 11 stolen bases, has only been thrown out 3 times.
Chu, one of those base runners, and when he gets his secondary lead out there, he angles his right foot slightly towards second base. It helps him open his body up, kind of get his hips open, so when he does want to run, it's a lot easier to get a good start.
0-2 on Santana. Fouled away again by the rookie catcher. It remains 0-2. The Reds a 2-0 lead as Cleveland bats here in the 3rd inning. Line hard into center field, and Stubbs nearly came in to get it too far, but able to leap into the air, and that's out number 2 in the inning. Boston Kearns flied out to right, ending the Indians' 1st inning. Harang hoping to get him and end things here in the 3rd. Chu at first, 2 away. Ball hammered into left field. That'll be a 2-out single for Kearns, advancing 2 on to second base.
Yeah, it looks like Austin Kearns in that wrist injury that he sustained so many years ago when he was with the Reds. He was such a prospect when he first got called up back in 2002, hitting the ball with power to all fields. But he had a succession of injuries where he was hit by a pitch. It seemed like every time it was just getting ready to be healthy again, he'd get hit again. And he's had a couple of hand operations, but looks like finally this year Austin Kearns is healthy. Power numbers are back to decent, 7 home runs, 32 runs batted in for Austin so far this year.
So another jam for Aaron Harang. Cleveland with 2 on, nobody out in the first inning, didn't score. 2 on, nobody out in the second inning, didn't score. 2 on, 2 out for Russell Branyan here in the third, and there's strike 1.
Well, you talk about a guy dropping the back shoulder and looking to jack one out of the ballpark. That is a classic uppercut swing right there. And that's on the mind of Russell Branyan just about every time he comes to the plate. Going yard.
And boy, even now after all these years, if he runs into one, he can hit him as far as anybody in the league. Phillips stayed in front of him, able to knock it down. Recovers in time to throw out Branyan. 2 more stranded for the Indians. They've left 5 through the first 3. New Tundra on display here at Great American Ballpark. And you can register for your chance to win in an upcoming game. Just stop by your Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky Toyota dealer. Aaron versus Aaron. That's what we have tonight. Aaron Harang against Aaron Laffey. 3rd time it's ever happened in Major League history. So if anybody ever asks you that question, water cooler at work, maybe at the kids' t-ball game, has Aaron ever pitched against Aaron? Well, you'll know the answer. Base hit by Brandon Phillips.
Well, Brandon up there swinging early in the count. This time did not want to become a victim of a strikeout call, which he didn't agree with. Last time that was the case with Brian Gorman. This time, first pitch he sees, line drive back through the box. Now, on Irish Heritage Night, if you were to spell those Aaron names instead of A-A-R-O-N, E-R-I-N, the girls' version, then you'd have something.
Did you have anything to do with, Irish Heritage Night at the ballpark?
I did not. I didn't know the Reds were doing these type of heritage nights. I know that they, over the years, well, every time we went to New York, it seemed like we were there for one of the heritage nights. Sometimes it was Irish heritage, sometimes it was Italian, sometimes it was Hispanic heritage night. They bring in bands and have all sorts of fun.
I don't mean to be silly about this, and maybe I had just assumed this, but I mean, Welsh is Irish.
Yes, it is.
Okay, but
yes,
maybe
it is.
Scottish or something like that.
No, it's Irish.
Okay. All right.
Usually I'm really only Irish on one day of the year like everybody else. That happens in March.
Yes. I am a little disappointed, although you do have a green tie on tonight. You look very nice. Very nice.
Luck of the draw.
Yep. Where's one of those leprechaun lids, though? You need one of those.
First, you can't have them both ways. I can't wear a beret and a leprechaun.
Well, I mean, a beret in honor of Wade LeBlanc earlier this year. When the Reds are donning their green caps, why can't you don a green cap? You know, like the leprechaun wears at Notre Dame football games. That's a good look.
Oh, yeah.
Runner goes, and a bouncing ball foul. That's something you may see a little bit more of until Orlando Cabrera can come out of this recent slump.
That makes a lot of sense, too. I mean, you want to keep Cabrera at the top of the lineup. He's been such a great run producer and part of this Reds offense. But in the last month, he's batting .173. So when you get a hitter mired in an extended slump like that, you do a lot of different things. Sometimes you hit him in a different spot in the order. And in this case, he's going to hit in front of Joey Votto, where he expects to get more fastballs and good pitches to hit.
That is a base hit off the glove of a diving Peralta. And look at Brandon Phillips coming all the way to third. And Cabrera now to second. Throw there's going to be late. Good, hard, aggressive base running by the Reds. Rather than first and second, it's second and third.
Boy, the extra effort you put into base running, it's hard to quantify on your scorecard. But, boy, it makes such a huge difference in the outcome of a game. A great effort by Peralta right there just to put a glove on it. Because if it gets by him, it's certainly a double going down the line. The Reds go easy second to third, but this time they go to second and third again, mainly because of the good hustle by Brandon Phillips. Nice to see him playing on top of his game. And, of course, Orlando comes in there at second base. And great run opportunity now for Joey Votto.
Well, at the very minimum, you'd love to see two more on the board in this inning. Pair of ground balls to the right side would even do the trick. But Votto thinking about more than that. Struck out his first time up. Started two, was able to check it. Ball one. Votto. Let's try to add to this 2-0 lead in the opening game of this homestand. Cleveland for 3 to wrap up interleague play for this 2010 season, and then the Reds get their first look at the two-time National League champion Philadelphia Phillies starting on Monday night. Look out.
Not an intentional pitch right here, but maybe an effective one. Look at the reaction by Laffey right after this. Oops. When you mean to go up and in, you don't react like, oops, I'm sorry. But Joey Votto fortunate to get out of the way of that one.
Now to Votto.
Well, you know, Joey Votto's excelled in a lot of different areas, but one of the things that impresses me so much is the fact that he's able to hit left-handers nearly as well as right-handers. This is career numbers. So when you get a guy who wants to play every day, you better be able to hit lefties and righties both, and Votto is right there with the best of them.
Very late swing there by Votto on a 3-1 breaking ball, and he fouls it away to run the count full.
Well, he was trying to hit that ball up the Licking River. That was a hack.
Cabrera at second, Brandon Phillips on at third. Reds looking to tack on to this 2-0 lead. Nobody out. And there's a walk to load him up. Legendary performance tonight brought to you by Cabin Wood Stains. Brandon Phillips originally broke into the major leagues with the Cleveland Indians. Things did not go well for him there, and he's pretty much made him pay ever since for trading into the Reds. Great numbers in the 26 games. And right now Brandon stands at third after a leadoff single, then a double by Cabrera, a walk to Votto, and they're loaded for Scott Rolen. Tim Belcher, of course, the one-time Red and Ohio native, now the pitching coach of the Indians.
And the victim of the Tom Browning perfect game.
Well, he's a good pitcher in his day.
Yes, he was. Solid guy, too.
All right, here's Scott Rolen. 0-1. 4 grand slams in the career of Scott Rolen. No activity in the Indians bullpen. Laffey in a world of trouble. We'll see if the Reds can make him pay. That fastball misses outside. 2-1 to Rolen.
Well, Scotty looking for something up. He's primarily a fly ball hitter and a good hitter of pitches that are up out of the zone. Not out of the zone, but up in the strike zone. And, of course, to a guy like Laffey, 3 inches above the knees is your spot where it's up. Well, you look on the radar gun, it doesn't look like Aaron Laffey's got all that much stuff. 86 miles an hour, but he just threw it right by that time. On a 2-1 pitch.
Two and two to Rolen. And we'll do it again right there.
Well, those are the kind of pitches, if you're Aaron Laffey, you're hoping that Scott Rolen makes contact and puts the ball in play, because he put it down in the zone where he needed it, and he's hoping to get a ground ball to help him get out of this inning. The Indians will give up a run in trying to get a double play.
Phillips at third, Cabrera at second, Votto at first, nobody out. Three and two. Not like Laffey and Santana have had much work together. Told you Laffey began the year in the Indians bullpen. By the time they sent him back to the minor leagues to start getting in enough innings to come back up as a starter, Santana was already here. 3-2 to Rolen. And he has walked in a run. Reds lead 3-0. Still loaded with nobody out. And now Johnny Gomes.
It's the kind of situation that Johnny Gomes sits home at night and dreams about. Bases loaded, nobody out, young left-handed pitcher on the mound with not a great fastball. He might be drowning in his own saliva right now.
And that's a good first pitch right there by Laffey.
You're not kidding about that. That's a first pitch changeup on the black on the knees. And it's a good job by Gomes about not being too anxious and getting himself out on a pitcher's pitch.
Cabrera at third, Votto at second, Rolen at first, nobody out. And went off speed again, and this time missed tying away. 1-1 to Johnny Gomes. Pretty good pitch right there. Fastball knee high on the outside corner, although I'm not sure that Gomes thought it was a strike. It's a good pitch.
2 off-speed pitches, 1 fastball. That may be the best fastball of the night for Laffey.
1-2 to Johnny, and now time is called. Reds have a chance really to just bust this thing wide open. Already leading 3-0. Part of the order up. They've scored a run and they're loaded with none out. 2-2.
Well, Gomes is really beginning to control his lower body. What you see him do early in the count is kind of take a big high step with his left leg, kind of wind up a little bit, almost like he's going to throw the ball. And then as he gets deeper into the count, he gets 2 strikes on him, he becomes much more subdued with his leg action. If you watch this leg right here, he'll be really under control.
In the air, left center field. Going back to get it is Crow at the track. Tagging and scoring Cabrera. Votto on to third. Give Gomes an RBI. And it's 4-0 Reds.
Well, you see the leg movement right there by Johnny Gomes with 2 strikes is not nearly as dramatic or exaggerated as he does early in the count. He's trying to make contact right there. And this is the adjustment that Johnny Gomes has made this year to make himself a solid everyday player. I mean, up until this year, Johnny didn't have much in the way of everyday playing time. He never had a chance. And so every time he went to the plate, he's playing Powder River. He's trying to hit the ball into the second deck. And people got the reputation, or he got the reputation of being able only to go up there and hit fastballs and swing hard. Well, he's shown everybody that he's a pretty smart hitter.
0-1 to Jay Bruce. He walked and scored on a 2-run home run by Drew Stubbs an inning ago.
He had a real good at bat, though. You know, he got behind in the count to Laffey, and Laffey threw him a lot of pitches that Bruce fouled off, eventually worked the walk.
Served into left field. Making the catch turns, but no chance to throw out Votto at the plate. Another sac fly RBI. And the Reds now lead 5-0. Well, if those are 2 examples of the argument you hear guys say sometimes in this Moneyball era about strikeouts aren't a big deal, boy, this inning is proof positive that that kind of talk is just nonsense.
Well, in this ballpark especially. I mean, anybody who makes contact in this ballpark has got a chance to hit the ball out of the yard. You give me as many guys as can make contact as possible here, and I'll play them every day.
Something that Gomes did a lot last year in similar situations. He'd strike out a lot. Not very many sac flies. Boy, that's a dramatic turnaround this year for Johnny Gomes. In fact, he leads the major leagues with 8 sacrifice flies for runs batted in this season.
He had 2 last year.
Yep.
In all of last year.
Hot smash off the glove of Peralta, but recovers to get the force out. A 30-pitch inning for Laffey. And the Reds score 3 and lead 5-0. Put inside Great American Ballpark this year. Pre-made, but I got to tell you, it is mighty good. I got one of those wraps down there during the last homestand. It's good stuff. Soft liner off the bat of Johnny Peralta to begin the Indians' 4th inning. Run down by Cabrera, 1 out.
What'd you have? What kind of wrap?
A chicken Caesar wrap. Man, it was good. Really good. You've been down there. You've been to that UDF down there.
I've not been in
that.
Listen, next time by 2.
Well, I mean, with Jesse Jackson by your side, every time I turn around, you're knocking down a Penn Station.
And they provided it again tonight, boy. I'll tell you what.
Like I said.
They take care of us big time here.
Anderson Hernandez had runners at first and second. Nobody out in the 2nd inning. And on the very first pitch, popped up. to Johnny Gomes in shallow left field. The Indians have already had 3 scoring chances in the game tonight. And another routine fly ball, this one to left center, but again squeezed tightly by Johnny Toolway. Time now for our AT&T trivia question tonight. Who are the only 2 players in Cleveland franchise history to have a 30-30 or 30 or more home runs, 30 or more stolen bases in the same season? One of the names will not surprise you. The other stunned me. Maybe not you. One of them is a current player on the Indians team, though not on the active roster.
That pretty much gives it away.
Yeah. Brady Sizer.
Yep.
All right, but the other one, I think there are going to be a lot of folks surprised by this name. He originally came up with a National League team, was traded to the Indians, and that was just the start of what will be a Hall of Fame career. Swinging a foul ball out of play. But the stolen base total, again, surprised me. That he had that many in a year.
So is it a player of recent memory?
Yeah.
Okay. Hall of Fame career.
Oh, yeah.
So he may have.
And a Hall of Fame guy. One of the most likable people that's probably ever played Major League Baseball. Popped up, short right, 1-2-3 for Aaron Harang. After 3.5, Reds 5, the Indians nothing. DS or go to Reds.com. Reds would like to win a pennant here in 2010.
Might be the year. They've got a better chance at it this year than in any of the last years of the decade. I think beginning this week, Reds fans take a look around and they realize, you know what? This might be the year. Look at the crowd we've got here at the ballpark tonight. They're expecting a big crowd tomorrow.
Although we remind you again, there are tickets still available for both tomorrow and Sunday. No TV tomorrow night. Our big brother, if you will, at the Fox Network, choosing 2 Saturdays this year to televise games and employing their national blackout window in prime time tomorrow night. So we are unable to televise tomorrow's game. Ramon Hernandez to lead it off here in the Reds' 4th, leading 5-0. Of course, the Reds lead the National League right now in both batting and in fielding. And the last 2 times Reds teams led in both categories in a year, they won the World Series in 1976 and 1990. You never know. Two and two to Hernandez, and that one shot to the right side, but gobbled up by Anderson Hernandez. No relation, one away. Now, Chris, your good friend and mine, Jeff Rimmer, the voice of the Columbus Blue Jackets here on Fox Sports Ohio, is standing by as we are very much in great anticipation of the Blue Jackets' first pick in the NHL draft tonight. And we're going to check in with Jeff in just a little while to let you know who that is. So Jeff standing by with an interview. So stick around for that. High fly ball, right field by Aaron Harang, and the first 2 retired by Laffey here in the 4th.
Well, you know, you get to the middle of June or the end of June and into July, and the temperature starts soaring into the high 80s and in the 90s. Hockey is about the last thing you think about, but
no doubt,
Fox Sports Ohio is going to keep you up to date, take you right to that draft date. Play-by-play man Jeff Rimmer and their #1 pick. I wonder who it is.
We will let you know as soon as we know. And now Brandon Phillips. He started the 3-run rally in the third with a single into center field. Brandon Phillips adding on to his National League lead in runs scored. He has scored 56 runs so far this season.
Isn't that what it's all about, though, really?
No doubt about it.
Either you drive them in or you score them. And if you're the number 2 hitter, you're going to drive them in. Or the number 1 hitter, in this case, top of the lineup tonight.
There you see 3 more than Martin Prado's having a spectacular year for Atlanta. Prado leads the National League in batting average. That is a foul ball by Phillips. But, I mean, you look up and down a lot of big-time categories in the National League. Phillips, the 10th best batting average, has scored the most runs. He has the 2nd most hits, only to Prado, among all National Leaguers. And you see his numbers stacked up against Chase Utley, who we'll see starting on Monday. But Utley right now the leading vote getter among all National League second basemen for the All-Star game. This might be an infield hit for Phillips, and it is. Off the end of the glove of Laffey, and by the time Donald, who made a great effort to make the throw over there, he wasn't going to get the speedy Brandon Phillips his 2nd hit tonight.
Well, you know, as a pitcher, you're trying to flag that everything you possibly can. He knows his shortstop's probably punched into the hole a little bit, but he comes a couple of steps off the mound. Laffey does, deflects it, and that's not going to be enough for the Indians to corral Brandon Phillips this time. So a couple of knocks and 3 at-bats now for Brandon.
Ball 1 to Orlando Cabrera, reached on an error, stole a base in the 1st inning, and had a double off the glove of Peralta up the left third base line and scored in the 3rd. Shot into right field, a base hit. So very nice to see. Batting in that 2-hole tonight is Orlando Cabrera. Was hitless in his last 18 at-bats coming into the game, and now 2 hits already in his first 3 times up. All right, Chris, you finally figured out the other guy in our AT&T trivia question. We gave you Grady Sizemore. Who's the other?
Well, the other you gave me a lot of hints on, because he was a guy that ended the World Series with a home run, and that was up in Toronto against the Wild Thing, Mitch Williams. The other was Joe Carter.
Joe Carter. What an outstanding player and guy.
Yes.
He was and is. Eric Davis, by the way, that year went 37-50 for the Reds that same year. 0-1 to Joey Votto. And now a ball and a strike. Of course, the Reds have had 3 players do it. Brandon Phillips, Barry Larkin, Eric Davis. Larkin, if I'm not mistaken, was the first shortstop to ever do it in the history of baseball.
Did he do it? Was that his world or his MVP year?
Yep. Take a look at that. That looks like fun, doesn't it?
Sure does.
I could see you with a skipper's hat on. Maybe a Gilligan hat would look better on you. Hat on the high seas.
You like the hat thing, don't you?
I do. That'd be a good look for you.
Yeah. Do they make a special hat for a John boat?
They might. on swinging Votto, and that will end the inning. 2 hits, 2 men left. We move to the 5th. Reds in front, 5-0. Number 8 for Drew Stubbs.
Well, he's hit the ball hard both times he's been up, Drew Stubbs, but you've got to be impressed with that home run. A 2-0 pitch, taking the ball the other way for a home run. The first couple of runs the Reds have put on the board.
Well, the Indians come to bat. Pitcher spot due up in the 5th, but no Aaron Laffey. It'll be Andy Marte to pinch it for him. Off the end of the bat, fly ball to Johnny Gomes. 1 pitch, 1 out for Aaron Harang. Laffey goes just 4 innings in his first start with a big league club since they sent him down to AAA in preparation of going back into the rotation. He allows 5 hits, 5 runs, all earned. 5 apparently the unlucky number. He did have 5 strikeouts and walked 3. Two balls, no strikes on Trevor Crowe. The Cleveland center fielder is 1 for 2 tonight. A single to lead off the game. Stole second, wound up being stranded at third. Crowe and a 4-pitch walk. That's 4 walks tonight for Aaron Harang.
Boy, you can see Aaron Harang on that last pitch. I mean, he's just trying to guide that ball in there. 85 miles an hour. That's about 5 or 6 miles an hour off his normal fastball. Just trying to almost throw a dart in there to throw a strike. Not typical for Harang. More flyouts than groundouts. Almost by more than 2.5 to 1.
And not a single strikeout in the game for Harang, of course, who once led the National League in strikeouts.
You know, if you're looking at the radar gun sometimes when you measure pitchers, and obviously the ultimate measurement is how many runs you give up and how many innings you can give your pitching staff. But I mean, he's not within his normal range tonight. I mean, he's pitching more around 87, 88, 89 miles an hour than he is around 90, 91, 92.
The ball hit hard into left center field, but there's room for Drew Stubbs. Shin-Soo Choo retired, second out of the inning. We invite you to visit the official online shop of the Cincinnati Reds at Reds.com. I mean, the latest apparel, memorabilia, authentic classics for the entire family. Shop the Reds.com official store right now. Reds donning those green caps tonight in honor of Irish Heritage Night at Great American Ballpark. One to Carlos Santana, who was bounced into a double play and lined out to Drew Stubbs just in front of the wall, back into third. Apparently we'll see Joe Smith out of the Cleveland bullpen when the Reds bat in the bottom of the 5th. 1-1 to Santana. Boy, has this guy put up good numbers. We talked about the minor leagues after originally signing as a Dodger from the Dominican Republic.
Well, he was the talk of the camp down in Goodyear. If you remember, of course, the Reds share their spring training headquarters with the Cleveland Indians, so we got to know a lot of their players, including their best prospects. I think the Reds played him, 6 or 7 times down there at least. And all we kept hearing about was Carlos Santana. Is he ready? Is he ready? And the official word out of the Indians front office was no, he needs to go down the minor leagues, learn how to catch a little bit, learn how to call the game better, work on the finer points of receiving. But his offense has always been there.
Trevor Crow at first base. Reds leading 5-0 with 2 away here in the Cleveland 5th. And now the 2-2 to Carlos Santana. In the air, right field. Jay Bruce will watch it go. And Carlos Santana hits his 3rd home run in his first 13 games in the big leagues. And the Indians all of a sudden right back in this game. It is a 5-2 score here in the 5th. Well, he didn't get it all, but he got enough.
Well, you don't have to get it all in this ballpark, but you've got to be able to keep the ball down. And Carlos Santana gets a pitch just about middle in right there. And I don't think there's a left-handed hitter alive. And, of course, Santana's a switch hitter. Plenty enough to get it out of here.
Strike one to Austin Kearns, who's fly to right and single to left. So Santana in his first now 41 major league at bats has 9 extra base hits and 12 runs batted in. That's pretty good. Foul ball off the bat of Kearns. Cardinals in Kansas City are underway. That game in the bottom of the 2nd inning. No score yet. Check swing and a miss by Kearns, and that's all. First strikeout of the game for Harang. First 2 runs of the game against Harang. The Reds in front by 3.
Running around the bases.
Sidewinder Smith delivers low, ball 1 to Scott Rolen. Rolen struck out and then drew a bases-loaded walk and a 3-run third. In the air down the left field line. If it's fair, it's gone. It is fair and gone.
Well, he went down to get that one, did Scott Rolen, from a sidewinding right-hander, Joe Smith, a native Cincinnatian. Welcome back to the Natty, says Scott Rolen. A ball that goes into about 6 rows deep down the left field line.
Smith born in Cincinnati and then wound up growing up here. Played baseball out at Amelia High School out in Claremont County, just over the Hamilton County line. He missed all of his senior year due to arm surgery. Here's a base hit into center field. He wound up going to Wright State without a scholarship, got cut from the team as a freshman. Came back as a redshirt sophomore, changed down to this current sidearm delivery his junior year. And here he is in the major leagues. What a great story for Joe Smith. Drafted by the Mets originally in the 3rd round in 06. And then in the Franklin Gutierrez deal, a 3-way trade, was acquired by the Indians from the Mets. And pitched in 37 games for him last year, and boy did he pitch well. A 3.44 ERA. Going foul away by Bruce. Of course, the Indians just sent down another native Cincinnatian yesterday after their loss in Philadelphia. Jensen Lewis, he of Anderson High School, also on the east side of town, was sent back down to AAA Columbus. One and two to count on Jay Bruce. In the air, driven into deep right center field, and that ball is up against the wall, sending Gomes to 3rd. And Bruce in with a stand-up double. Almost had that toe come off the bat.
Pretty good swing for probably the hottest Red. We showed you what he did in Oakland, which was just rip the ball seemingly every time he came to the plate. Joe Smith gets a pitch up and out over the plate right there, and Jay Bruce sees it to his liking off the right field wall. Jay spent a few hours this afternoon over the Procter & Gamble corporate headquarters, signing autographs and meeting people over there as part of their Vibrant Living employee campaign, talking about health and making people happy. We thank David Palmer for having us over there, the global sports marketing manager for P&G.
Well, you're rubbing elbows with the big leaguers now.
Now, Jay was a hit. Big time.
Well, you're hanging out over at P&G. Well, pardon me. Holy Moses. Here is Drew Stubbs. One of the many Fortune 500 companies based right here in Cincinnati. Two and 0 to Drew Stubbs. The Indians have the infield in. Runners at 2nd and 3rd. Swing and a foul ball out of play. Two and 1 to count on Drew Stubbs. Smith to the plate. Shot into center field. This will bring in 2 more. 3 RBIs, now 4 RBIs in the game tonight for Drew Stubbs. A 2-run homer, a 2-run single. And the Reds now lead 8-2.
Boy, is Drew Stubbs seeing the ball well tonight. A home run to right field, a sizzler of a line drive his last time up to the third baseman, which resulted in a fielder's choice. And this sizzler of a line drive opposite field, going right just about up the middle off a low submarining right-hander. Now, if you're Dusty Baker, what do? I mean, eventually, he always said that he'd love to see Drew Stubbs back in the #1 spot in the lineup because he's got speed and he can do things up there that other guys can't. But I mean, if your team has already got, 8 runs on 9 hits, I mean, do you mess with the lineup right now? You mess with it enough by putting Brandon Phillips in the top spot. But look at his eyes, riveted on where that ball is. And really, that was a pitch earlier in the year that Drew Stubbs would kind of, in the words of Brooke Jacoby, would carve his swing. He kind of looped his swing a little bit, and he'd pop that ball up. But staying behind it the way he does right now, it results in a line drive.
Now Ramon Hernandez, Stubbs taken off, and not even a throw by Redmond. That'll be Stubbs' 16th stolen base of the year. He's only been thrown out 3 times. Now, we've said it many, many times before. If Stubbs ever gets to a place in his career where he becomes a 280 hitter, starts walking more, and gets really a little better than average on base percentage, what a nice play made by Hernandez, but his throw is knocked down by Branyan, and Stubbs easily scores.
Oh, the runner on second base, of course, you're just trying to get him to third, even in a big game like this. Great play by the second baseman, not a great play by the first baseman, Russell Branyan. It'll be a base hit. But on an infield hit, you score a guy from second base, has to be a speedster, and that would be Drew Stubbs.
And just to finish that thought on Stubbs, and there you got to look at exactly what we were starting to say, is that if Stubbs just got even a little bit better than average, major league average on base percentage, there is very little doubt that he would have a legitimate chance to lead the National League in stolen bases. He led the AAA, the International League, last year and really did not have a good offensive season. Two on Aaron Harang, and he pulls the bat away. And by the way, there is still nobody out here in the Reds' 5th inning. A home run by Rolen, single by Gomes, double by Bruce, 2-run single by Stubbs, stolen base by Stubbs, single and an RBI by Hernandez. And a 9-2 Reds lead. Harang can't get the job done, and he strikes out. And that is the first out of the inning. We remind you, Remke and Biggs have come together to make your shopping experience better. The new remodeled Turfway store in Florence invites you to come experience a Remke Biggs experience. Phillips, and that missed getting him in the foot. Or maybe closer to the shin or the knee.
Yeah, you know, it looked like it had kneecap written all over it for a while. Boy, you can see the side-to-side movement on the fastball by Smith. When you get down to a low arm action like that, that ball will really run on you.
Well, that one nearly hit Phillips, and didn't look very happy about it.
Well, Smith pitched an inning yesterday against the Phillies, and that was a blowout win for the Phillies. He had a 1-2-3 with a strikeout. Far from that here tonight in Cincinnati.
Liner caught on a diving play by Jason Donald, and there are 2 outs in the inning.
Brandon Phillips, you can just see the way he approaches his at-bats. I mean, his swings are more controlled. He keeps his head still. He's not trying to hit the ball in the river, and he is just scalding the ball. A strikeout, 2 hits, and a line drive. A real controlled front foot, but boy, he gets that foot down early on so that he can just rip that bat through the zone.
Been a good night for Orlando Cabrera. Cabrera only 8 hits in his last 60 at-bats coming into play tonight, and has been on base all 3 times. Reached on an error in the first, doubled and scored in the third, singled in the fourth. And he is gone swinging to end a 4-run fifth. Reds lead 9-2. Scotty Rolen clubbing number 16 in the fifth.
Day back with you, Camberwell, right by the Reds dugout, and Tom Brenneman so enamored with putting a hat on Chris Welsh's head that want to tell you about these hats. It's Irish Heritage Night, of course, here. Reds wearing green hats, if you guys have said. And these hats and other green style hats are on sale here at the ballpark. 10% off this whole homestand. So if you want some, make a fashion statement, come out to the yard and get one of these hats. It would look great on Chris Welsh. All right, let's transfer to our Meyer Texpo question of the night. Plan for the Ohio Cup this weekend. What would you revel more in achieving? Winning the World Cup or winning the Ohio Cup? Text 1 for the World Cup, 2 for the Ohio Cup, 37664 is where you text it to. Standard text message rates apply. We have the results coming up. I know you two are glued to the España-Chile match. Were you not?
Well, Chris might have been. There's a fly ball by Brandon to begin the inning.
Negative on that, but I'm watching what I can.
And it's very exciting that the United States of America has advanced on into the round of 16.
Boy, they thought they were, what, a minute away from being eliminated.
Yep.
That was exciting.
Very exciting. And we wish them well. There you see some of the early results. I mean, they are pouring in.
I'm surprised the Ohio Cup has that many votes. I mean, the World Cup is a huge thing. Huge. Now, where does the Ohio Cup trophy reside? At the ballpark of the winner?
Yes, it does.
Let's hope the spring training games don't count towards the ultimate standings in the Ohio Cup.
No.
Because the Indians had the Reds number. But when it counts, Reds took 2 or 3 up in Cleveland, and they're in control tonight.
Fly ball hit into deep right center field, and that one flies out of here. Well, Johnny Peralta with a home run to right center field. Boy, it is staggering, and you brought it up very early on, Chris. I mean, the difference between coming back here where it is summertime as opposed to the 3 games up at Safeco Field is shocking.
I mean, that ball in Safeco Field, the right fielder comes in to catch. I mean, that's on the end of the bat. Harang's thinking, all right, that's a fly ball, maybe to the warning track. Not tonight, not when it heats up. Man.
Second home run allowed by Aaron Harang tonight. The 2-run home run by Santana in the 5th. The solo shot by Peralta here in the 6th. And it's a 9-3 ball game. Great American Ballpark, the leader in all of baseball for home runs surrendered.
Remember that back in the days when Coors Field used to just run away with that number year in and year out. I mean, they'd have 20% more home runs at Coors Field than any other ballpark.
Ripped into right field by Anderson Hernandez. Bruce able to cut it off and hold him to a single.
Of course, a lot of that had to do with the Blake Street Bombers that were there. They were hitting the ball out of the ballpark so frequently. Of course, the other part of it had to do with the fact that they were playing a mile-high elevation and the ball would go 10 to 15% farther then. But ever since they installed the humidor up there to make the baseballs travel less, it's helped. And Great American Ballpark has taken that spot.
Jason Donald digging in. 1 in, 1 on, 1 out. Strike 1.
Good changeup right there by Harang.
Jam shot pop-up. Wow. Falls right in between Harang and Phillips. And that'll be an infield hit. That's just tough luck right there.
Well, Harang's given up a couple of those. In fact, he's given up now 6 base hits. Or make it 7 base hits to the Indians. But he's given up 2 balls that really should have been played. That one, maybe it's just bad luck right there. I think Harang probably had the best shot at that if he had called off Phillips. And the other, of course, was the one lost in the sun out in left field by Russell Branyan that went for a double. That was pretty good pitching by Harang to get out of that inning.
Pitch gets away from Ramon Hernandez, but able to run it down and prevent the runners from advancing. Reds leading 9-3 here in the 6th inning. But the Indians with 3 straight hits, a home run by Peralta, single to right by Hernandez, an infield pop-up single by Donald. And now Mike Redmond bats for the first time since coming on as part of a double switch, and still no word from the Indians clubhouse as to whether or not Carlos Santana was injured when he hit that home run, because the very next half inning he was out of the game. Harang has fallen behind. 2 balls and no strikes. There's a strike, 2-1. Let's go back to the home run by Santana and watch him as he rounds first base.
Yeah, he was actually limping a little bit before he got to first base. It looked like he showed us a grimace as he hit the bag and came across. Maybe he injured himself prior to the home run. But he's no longer in the game. We haven't heard a thing.
Foul away, and Harang has battled back from 2-0 to even things at 2-2 on Mike Redmond.
Boy, a steady diet of off-speed pitches to the Indians catcher. You know, it's easy to get gunshot here. You get your fastball lit up for a couple of home runs that you think that really shouldn't have gone out, and then you really start going to the breaking stuff, saying, all right, my fastball's not working. But the changeup does. Nice one there.
Takes care of Redmond, and that's the second out here in the Cleveland 6th inning, and the second strikeout for Aaron Harang.
I threw 5 pitches to Mike Redmond in this at bat. 4 of them were these pitches right there, off speed and down and away.
The Reds have the right-hander Logan on Drusick, the left-hander Daniel Ray Herrera getting loose in the bullpen. Harang has thrown 89 pitches. No big deal for Aaron. And has a 9-3 lead here in the 6th with 2 on, 2 out, and Trevor Crowe takes a breaking ball, strike 1. Outside corner, a strike. A 1-2 down to Trevor Crowe. Kansas City, by the way, has opened a 3-0 lead, scoring 3 times against Cardinal starter Jeff Suppan. And Kansas City still batting in the bottom of the 3rd inning. Fastball outside, 2-2 to Crowe. 2 on, 2 out, 2 balls, 2 strikes. And a tapper to the right side. Harang, a nice play, will make the tag, and that'll end the inning. So the Indians get a run. We've played 5.5, and the Reds lead 9-3.
For it, but certainly Chad Ochocinco a run for it.
Well, I mean, Dusty,
the end zone dance. I mean, Dusty's got it better than he does.
Very nice by the skip.
Looks pretty good in the green hat.
No doubt. That was a Coors Light freeze can brought to you by Frost Brewed Coors Light. Now, see, if anybody should show us how to do a little bit of that.
No. I know where you're going. I know where you're going, and the answer is no.
You mean your family, when you were growing up, you guys never did that at an Irish festival from time to time? I mean, really, I'm being serious about this. I mean, I know I'm ribbing you a little bit about doing it now, but I mean, you've never done it?
No, my dad had a pretty extensive collection of Irish albums and Irish music that he would play fairly often, but we didn't do the dance. The dance is more of a modern phenomenon, from what I can tell. But they had dancers here at the ballpark, as we showed you one, but there were enough of the dancers to perform on both sides of the field before the game, right in front of both dugouts. They got big ovations. They were really wonderful.
Well, I think you ought to bring yourself, up to the current times a little bit. 3-2 to Joey Votto, and maybe learn how to do a little bit of that during the offseason. So next year, during Irish Heritage Night, you could get out there and join those young ladies and do a little bit of that. I think it'd be great.
I'll do it if you'll do it.
You know what? I'd love to do it. There's ball 4 to Joey Votto. Maybe we could shoot over to CCM, the Conservatory of Music over on the campus of the University of Cincinnati, and I have no doubt they have someone over there who could handle teaching you and I a little bit of Irish dancing in preparation of next year. I think it'd be a hoot. If you will do it, I will meet you down there.
Okay, fair enough.
You got a deal. There's a ground ball by Rolen. This should be a double play, and it is 2 out here in the inning. Reds leading 9-3 here in the bottom of the 6th inning. Opening game of this 3-game weekend series. To wrap up interleague play for the 2010 season. They're trying to make it 3 wins in the first 4 games this year against the Cleveland Indians. Johnny Gomes 1 for 2, knocked in a run with a sac fly in a 3rd. Good breaking ball there by Smith, and that'll retire the side. All right, Christian, get a little bit going right now. We're going to go to the McGing School of Irish Dance. It's possible with the nation's fastest 3G network, AT&T Rethink Possible. By your Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky Honda dealers. Visit mycincinnatihondadealer.com for current offers. By Grainger, with over 900,000 products for the ones who get it done. And by Wendy's, you know when it's real. Reds with a 9-3 lead as we open the 7th. Aaron Harang still on the mound. Throws his 95th pitch of the game, and it's strike 1 to Shin-Soo Choo. Choo had a great series against the Reds when the 2 teams met in Cleveland. It was pulled to the right side. And Brandon Phillips will throw him out. Choo went 7 of 13 in that series with 2 home runs. Both of them, if I recall, against Bronson Arroyo in the same game.
He's a good player, solid player. But you know what happens to players, whether they're good or bad, on teams that begin to go real bad, is that, you know, you lose that team chemistry where you feel like you're fighting as a team. I mean, they got walloped by the Philadelphia Phillies, something like 12-2 or 12-3 yesterday. They were just out of the game. The first 2 games in the Philly series, they were in. I mean, they're 20 games under 500. So at some point, you begin to start playing for yourself, and you lose the team focus, and it's just not the same. You're going to get much better performances out of good players when you're playing on a good team. And to that, I give you Brandon Phillips. He's a much better player this year than he's been in the last couple of years with the Reds, mainly, in my opinion, not because he's playing any differently, but because he's playing as a team. He realizes this team's got a chance and that this is a special group of guys this year, and he's giving a little bit extra effort, and it shows in his batting average and run scores and run production, in his defense. You don't feel like you're playing for yourself out there.
Well, you couldn't have said it any better about Brandon Phillips. He is just having an outstanding year. And you got to remember, he really has had an outstanding, 2 months, because he had a terrible April. There's a base hit in the left field by the pinch hitter, Shelley Duncan. Batting for the pitcher, Smith. Smith goes 2 innings tonight, allows 5 hits and 4 runs. And by the way, the scoring decision on that base hit by Ramon Hernandez, where Drew Stubbs scored from second, rightfully was changed. Still an infield hit, but no RBI for Hernandez. The throw in the dirt, where the ball got away from Russell Branyan, allowing Stubbs to go then from third to home, allowed the run to score, accounting for that base. So no RBI for Ramon Hernandez, and his second error in the game to the Indians. Popped up in the infield. Cabrera's got it. 2 away. And here comes Branyan, who has 1 hit in 3 at-bats tonight. A couple of buddies of mine sent me quick emails, Chris, telling me about our dancing.
I'm afraid to ask.
That you look very good, and they hope they never see me do that again. They said I looked like I was riding a horse. Well, that's because you couldn't see my feet, for crying out loud.
Yeah, your feet were working pretty
good. They were moving.
I hope I never see it again either.
That went all the way into the Indians' dugout. And that wild pitch will allow Shelley Duncan to advance on to second base.
Hey, Reds fans, how would you like to win 32 Reds tickets and be on TV? Just visit howdoyou32.com and show JTM How You 32. JTM, food, family, fun.
You know, the thing about dancing is, it's one of those things that when you're in high school, you feel like a dummy going out there and dancing. Maybe even, you know, when you first get out of school, and then you realize, as there's ball 4 to Branyan, that you should have been one of those guys out there. Because there aren't many of the guys out there, and there are a lot of the girls out there.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So you say you have some natural rhythm?
Well, there's very little doubt about that. Matter of fact, I've been told on numerous occasions that I am just a marvelous dancer.
Really?
Yeah.
I've never been told that.
Yeah. Well, I know that. I was just passing it along. It's something that, you know, a little bit younger, you know, we can pass along now some of our wisdom.
Now, did you ever take any dance lessons?
I did with my wife getting ready for our wedding.
Really?
It's the only time. One of those Arthur Murray deals.
Sure.
Yeah. Well, you know, we wanted to look good out there, you know, on your big wedding night.
Well, you know, over at P&G today, in addition to Jay Bruce, it was Evan Lysacek, who won the gold medal in figure skating, but also appeared on Dancing with the Stars. Now, you talk about a parade of female P&G employees that was waiting for him to sign autographs. Wow. Jay Bruce took notice.
Popped up, foul ground. And Joey Votto puts it away to retire the South. Indians strand two. They stand and stretch. Reds lead 9-3. For John Morrell hot dog play of the game. Leaping grab on the liner off the bat of Johnny Peralta, made by Orlando Cabrera. So the Indians going to go back to their bullpen as the Reds come to bat here in the bottom half of the 7th inning. And they'll bring on Frank Herman. And he gets ahead, strike one to Jay Bruce. Herman began the year at AAA Columbus. Threw brilliantly down there. A 0.31 ERA in 28 2/3 innings pitched. And then after allowing a run in his first appearance of the season, he did not allow another run over his last 27 innings in Columbus.
Well, he's got pretty good stuff, as you see right there. Maybe the best stuff we've seen so far on the night by Indians pitching. But if it doesn't work out for Frank Herman, he's got something to fall back on. Graduated in the spring of 2007 from Harvard with an economics degree.
But when they put on a shift, they don't teach that at Harvard. Guys hitting the ball the other way for doubles.
Nope, they teach that in Beaumont, Texas in high school.
So, where would you rather be? Well, nothing's better than great food and talking baseball with good friends. That's why you need to get into the Lunch Bunch. Go to FoxSportsOhio.com. A chance to win one of 10 HD TVs. A grand prize featuring lunch with Chris Welsh, Jay Bruce, and the rest of the Fox Sports Ohio broadcast team. The Fox Sports Ohio Lunch Bunch Sweepstakes, powered by Time Warner Cable. So a double by Bruce. Chase taking his lead as Drew Stubbs takes a strike on the inside corner. Drew with 4 RBIs tonight. 2-run home run in the 2nd inning and a 2-run single in the 5th. He's also scored a pair of runs in the game. One-two to Stubbs and a ground ball to the shortstop. Stubbs thrown out. Stubbs will advance Jay Bruce to third base, and there's one away here in the Reds' 7th inning. Indians bring their infield in, and we'll see if Ramon Hernandez can get that RBI after all. The one which he initially received on that infield hit, but then had taken away as an error. Allowed Drew Stubbs to score all the way from second base on the hit. Fly ball right field. Chu coming in, makes a catch. Bruce will not try and advance.
Chu's got one of the best arms in the business right there, and Jay Bruce, who's the resident in right field for the Reds this year, has equally as good an arm, and they'll respect that right from the get-go. Medium depth, not nearly enough. Couldn't play it any better than that if you're Chu. Had good momentum towards the plate.
So the night is over for Aaron Harang. And after pitching out of a couple of huge jams in each of the first 2 innings, he goes 7 strong frames tonight. Allows 8 hits and 3 runs. Harang in line to get his 6th win of the season. High walk total. Rare high walk total for Aaron Harang. 5 of those, couple of strikeouts. But Chris, you'll take that all day, every day from Aaron Harang.
Exactly right, Tom. That column in the middle, under the runs, that's what is important.
Play by Lance Nix.
Well, Lance Nix was happy to know that his brother Jason Nix was picked up by the Indians just today, activated on the roster today. So they'll be able to have a little brotherly reunion after the ball game and throughout this weekend. Nix picked up off of waivers from the Chicago White Sox after they designated him back on the 17th of June.
You know, they had both those guys last year. Jason Nix, talking about the White Sox, and Chris Getz. I thought both were going to be pretty decent players. There's a roller and safe, an infield hit and an RBI for Lance Nix. And that'll make it a 10-3 game. Great effort by Peralta.
An equally as great effort by Lance Nix, hustling down the line, smelling a base hit, a run batted in. Peralta makes a one-handed show of it, but he can't quite get there in time.
We don't get to see Johnny Peralta play, you know, on an everyday basis. But, of course, he made the move from shortstop over to third. And, Chris, I don't know about you, but what little we have seen him at third, he looks like he plays pretty well down there.
He does. I've always considered him more of an offensive player. But in the short samples that we've seen him, the games in spring training, and then the games we've seen, you know, in interleague against the Indians, he's availed himself pretty well defensively.
Driven into left center field by Brandon Phillips, and Crow runs it down in front of the wall. So we march on to the 8th. The Reds tack on a run and lead 10-3. One in the second inning, 2-run single in the 5th. Has a stolen base and has scored 2 times.
Kind of nice to have a game like this. I mean, and you don't lose the importance of it when you look at the grand scheme of things. But the Reds have struggled in so many games in which they've had to come from behind and win in their last at bat. They can breathe easy a little bit tonight. It's a lot easier on the manager, I guarantee you, when you've got a 10-3 score going into the 8th inning. So you bring in one of your relievers that you don't usually bring into a pressure-packed situation, and that would be Logan Ondrusek.
Okay, the Reds bullpen threw the ball very, very well on a just completed road trip. I mean, that has been one of the real inconsistent part of this Reds team so far this year. The bullpen ERA of 4.69, but on the road trip, in 13 1/3 innings, allowed only 3 earned runs. That's a 2.03 ERA. And Chris, especially good to see not only the entire bullpen, but especially good to see the way Nick Massett threw the ball on the trip.
Well, he really needs to have stepped it up because obviously the Reds have been looking for somebody in that 8th inning to be able to come in, throw strikes, set up the closer, Cordero, and Massett, when he gets his stuff in the part of the strike zone where he wants it, he's got as good a stuff as anybody. But you've got to be able to command it.
Yesterday was the final day the Reds will have off until the All-Star break. They played 3 in a row in this series. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday against the Phillies. And then what a road trip leading up to the break. 4 at Wrigley Field against the Cubs. 3 at Citi Field against the Mets. And then a 4-game series in Philadelphia leading up to the break.
Yeah, so many people who looked at that Red schedule at the beginning of the year, including Dusty Baker, said, wow, look at that trip. But, you know, if you look at this, the big thing again, if you can play 500 on that trip, you'll probably stay very close to being in first place. And of course, in the meantime, you're playing 6 games here at home. You've got to really be able to take care of business here against the Indians because you've got a hot team in the Philadelphia Phillies coming in. They're hitting the ball much better than they did 3 weeks ago. And you'll play them again when you head out to Philly.
Well, the good news is then you finish with them for the year.
Yeah.
Broken bat. Liner caught by Rolen. They're saying he didn't catch it in the air. So that'll go 5-3 for the second out of the inning. Andrusik has now pitched 8 1/3 innings since he was brought back from Louisville on the 1st of this month. And his ERA is right around 2.
You know, he looks so much more comfortable. All these guys do, it seems like, when they get a little bit of experience at the big league level. Jordan Smith, you know, has gotten better and better each time out. Andrusik seems to be pitching more aggressively. That's at 95 and 96. We had not seen that from Andrusik first time up. And we kept hearing about that. This kid can throw 95. Well, and we'd see him throw 91, and that's hitting speed. But he's being a little more aggressive out there, and I think that's a good thing.
It's a second at bat for Mike Redmond since replacing Carlos Santana. And Redmond struck out his first time up. Three-1 delivery. And it's fouled away. Well, you can make your Friday night better by going to FoxSportsOhio.com right now and enter to win the Papa's in Your House contest. You can win a Fox Sports Ohio prize pack, and one grand prize winner will win a pizza party. The Papa's in Your House contest presented by Papa John's. And there's a 2-out single to center field by Redmond. Leadoff man Trevor Crowe stepping up there for the 4th time tonight. 5th plate appearance. And a breaking ball in there, a strike. Crowe had a single to lead off the game, stole the base, fly to third in the 3rd, walked and scored on the Santana home run in the 5th, and then left 2 on, ending the 6th with a ground out to Aaron Harang. Two to Crowe. Again, a reminder, no television tomorrow night. We are unable to televise that game tomorrow night. So Chris and I'll be coming your way with the rest of our entire crew on Sunday afternoon, the series finale. The tickets are available tomorrow. Sam LeCure will go up against Justin Masterson. Masterson grew just up the road, close to Dayton. So he'll be on the mound tomorrow night against Sam McCure. 7:10 first pitch. And tickets are available. Meanwhile, on Fox tomorrow, the Cubs and the White Sox, and that'll be all about Carlos Zambrano, who, if you didn't hear the news, melted down earlier today in the Cub dugout and has been suspended indefinitely by the Cubs. Reds lead after 7.5. Museum during weekends this month. In fact, this month right now, receive a free collectible gift. And all full price paying guests to the hall on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays receive an exclusive magnet set that pays tribute to the Reds' 5 championship seasons. Visit Reds.com/HOF. Well, it's been an outstanding performance tonight by the Reds, getting back on the home front. And they come to bat in the last of the 8th inning against left-hander Tony Sipp with a 10-3 lead.
Second-year major leaguer Tony Sipp, 32 games for him so far this year, higher in run average. He had a great year last year. He was down around 2.9. A product of Clemson. Of course, he's rooting his Clemson Tigers on in the College World Series. I think they've got a matchup with South Carolina coming up.
Orlando Cabrera to lead things off against Sipp. Been a lot of talk about Cleveland perhaps trying to move their closer Kerry Wood, as the trade deadline will start to get more and more publicity. We're roughly a month away from the end of July. Wood in the final year of a huge money contract, and of course has gotten very few save chances. I think 8 of them, in fact, the entire year. He's blown 3 of them. But there are some that'll tell you his stuff is still lights out. But, you know, yeah, they'll get him into games and make sure he tries to stay sharp every, 2, 3, 4 days max. But Chris, just not coming in with the same adrenaline more times than not when you're pitching, way behind in a game.
Could be one of those change of scenery things that the receiving team might think, all right, if we can get Kerry Wood and use him in clutch game situations, we're on a team that is going somewhere, you may just kind of capture his focus a little bit better. I think the one time we did see him in Cleveland, he threw the ball exceptionally well.
1-1 to Joey Votto, and now 1-2. There will be all kinds of names that will begin to start being thrown out there as more and more teams feel like it's time to, if not outright concede, to certainly start changing some faces and looking either to rebuild, reload, move some big money contracts if they're able to do so.
Well, what normally happens is right after the All-Star break, a lot of teams, most of the teams anyway, bring their scouts in, their advisors, their consultants that have been out looking at players up and down the minor leagues, major leagues around baseball, and then they have a big meeting and they decide, all right, where are we? Do we try to make a move to make our team better, get back in the race, or do we back off and plan for next year? That's a good shot of Brad Del Barber right there, who used to be, believe it or not, the Reds traveling secretary. Now he's one of the scouts for the Milwaukee Brewers. There's Brad. Local guy, good guy.
Real good guy.
But there are a lot of teams that do the same thing. They bring them all in, they discuss, all right, where are we? And at that point, you start exploring trade options. And that's why it takes so long, as when you start getting up against the trading deadline there at the end of July, that there's a flurry of activity later in the month rather than earlier in the month, because teams are still meeting about things early in the month. Those teams that are on the fence, maybe contending, maybe not, don't know what to do July 15th, but they certainly have a lot better idea when it comes to July 25th.
Miguel Cairo coming up there to bat with 2 outs and nobody on. Reds leading 10-3.
Boy, Miguel had one heck of a day that final game in Oakland. The day game on Wednesday. Made a great play on a ground ball down the line, turned it into a double play. That was a game changer right there. That was in support of Nick Massett. Halser picked up a couple of hits in that ball game, if I'm not mistaken.
One and 2 the count on Miguel Cairo. And he started 2, no appeal. 2-2 to Cairo. We understand that Edwin Jackson of the Arizona Diamondbacks has gone through 8 innings of no-hit shutout baseball. Arizona leading Tampa Bay as that game goes to the 9th inning, 1-0. And Edwin Jackson throwing a no-hitter. And now they're going to the bottom of the 9th inning. There's a swing and a miss by Cairo to retire the side. We go to the 9th. Reds in front big. Russell Branyan. Boy, that's where they tell you, Chris, get down on one knee and make sure. So 10-3 as Cleveland comes to bat in the top of the 9th inning. 3 changes for the Reds on defense make it 4. New left side of the infield. Miguel Cairo takes over at third base. The new catcher is Corky Miller. Paul Yanish replaces Orlando Cabrera at shortstop. And now on the mound is right-hander Micah Owings. By the way, Kansas City and their outstanding pitcher, the reigning American League Cy Young Award winner, Zach Greinke, ran into problems in the top of the 6th inning, but got out of it. And Kansas City leads St. Louis 3-0. We bring it up, of course, because should Kansas City hang on and the Reds nail this one down here in the 9th inning, the Reds would leapfrog the Cardinals and go back atop the National League Central. I mean, it is really turning into, and never in a million years will I ever be guilty again, because I've been guilty in the past. And most recently, that Houston Astros club, 5 years ago, where I was in Houston the final day of July, and the local papers in Houston had all but pronounced the Astros DOA. Well, they wound up in the playoffs, and they wound up in the World Series. So, you try to live and learn. But this National League Central Division, you have the Cardinals and the Reds within a half game or a game of one another seemingly every single day. And everybody else, as there's a liner back to Owings, who makes the catch, or it caught him. What away.
Nice play by Micah Owings. He rubbed off the rush before he had to make that catch on that comebacker back to him. It's been a while since Micah's been in a ball game. In fact, it's been about 10 days since he last pitched. That was against the Dodgers, and he snags that line drive no problem. And Chu's looking at an 0 for 3 with a couple of walks. This is Micah's 4th appearance in the month of June, and that's the life of a long man. You're not sure when you're going to pitch. Sometimes you could be a spot starter. Sometimes you're going to be used early in the game when your starter gets knocked out of the game. Other times you may be the last guy in a long extra inning game.
And 1 the count on Jason Nix. Coming up as a pinch hitter, and he pops it up in a shallow right field. Jay Bruce will get it. And the Indians are down to their final out of the night.
After every Reds game, Fox Sports Ohio breaks down the game and talks to the players and coaches on Reds Live. Brought to you by Kings Honda and the Kings Auto Mall. Visit KingsHondaUSA.com. Well, Rolen would win it. He'd go to 6 and 7.
Raffy would slip to 0-2 with both of his losses this season against the Reds. One in relief and now one as a starter. And the Reds will push their record to 8 games over 500, picking up their 4th straight win. Austin Kearns has 32,844 stand as one. To Austin Kearns. Strike 2. Here's a 1-2 on Austin Kearns, and it misses outside with a fastball. Trying to put him away. That's 1-1 and foul away. Speaking of putting it away, Edwin Jackson walked a batter with 2 outs in the 9th inning, but then gets the ground out to end the game. A no-hitter tonight for Edwin Jackson of the Arizona Diamondbacks. Congratulations, young man. His first career no-hitter. Now the 2-2. In the air and playable, it appears, for Miguel Cairo, and foul ground. The Reds have won their 4th in a row. They go to 8 games over 500. Drew Stubbs knocks in 4 of the 10. And Aaron Harang pitches very, very well.
Yeah, he did pitch very, very well. Back-to-back good starts for Aaron Harang, and that's what the Reds needed. A good, solid outing. They gave him support tonight, unlike they did early in the year. And Dusty Baker sees his team cruise right along on 12 hits. They played good defense tonight, the Reds did. The Indians did not. I think that was a big difference in this ball game. So, celebrating Irish Heritage Night, Dusty Baker and his clan take care of the Indians 10-3.
And we'll be back with more from Great American Ballpark after this timeout on Fox Sports Ohio.